I think for us, it's always about that. It's like people want to consume content they want to consume, especially when it comes to advertising. Certain things that I'm in New York City, unfortunately, I don't drive a car. So why put an ad in front of me that's an automobile ad? So for us, it was identifying what the people really wanted to consume and predicting like what it looked like. So I think our first step with Velocity for us was about identifying that and then diving down deep and creating that content. What's the insight behind the why they want to consume that, and then create that right content. I think the second thing for us was the challenge was how do you publish it properly to the like said platforms. So whether it's on Mashable's O&O or off on our multiple platforms, what are the right headlines, images for those platforms so we can tell the right story. So those two things just seemed to make sense, but the last bucket for us was then how do you put it in front of the right people so you wouldn't put the wrong piece of content to someone that, I don't know, I'm from Chicago originally and a diehard Bulls fan, and if you put something in front of me that might not be about the Chicago Bulls, it comes to the NBA, I may not consume it. So for us it was really about figuring out a way to hit the right audience at the right time and give them the right content. We look at, we have a product called Velocity. Inside of Velocity Suite, we have something called Kilogram. And we're looking at people's behavioral habits throughout the web and social. And what we're trying to identify who can influence on a certain topic and who's influenceable on another. So through a bunch of different behavioral habits, a lot of it being sharing, engaging on the web, liking, commenting, etc., we can determine what you like, what you influence, and what you're influenceable about. So that's kind of how we started it out. It's mostly our proprietary technology. We overlay that with some additional demographic third-party data to make sure that it's accurate. That's what we've come to, I think, to the recipe for our success behind that data. Video is a big thing at Mashable. We're up tremendously this year in terms of video views. I was just looking at a stat. Last year at this time, we had a couple 100 million video views a month, and now we're at 1.5 billion. And I think the big question is like, what happened and why? I think a lot of it comes to what we were just talking about. It's creating the right content and purposing it properly across the right, like said, platforms. For us, Snapchat's been a great addition for us. Obviously, Facebook. We've seen tremendous growth on the additional social platforms, but it's about creating the right content for those platforms and we're telling the right story. We're the exclusive tech partner for Snapchat, and we create our daily stories on Snap. We look at a lot of things as to the why people are consuming. And there's a lot of special sauce behind that, but that's led to significant growth for us. So we think that short version of storytelling, the way that we actually are using that is, for us, it's a game changer. We've seen again an increase of 1 billion plus views a month. I think it comes down to that why. Understanding like what people want to consume, what's the right length of that content, how many snaps do they want to see when they go through it, and how do you seamlessly tell that story throughout the edition? What are those right topics? That's different from what we might do on our O&O, so to speak. So for us, when you combine all that together, that's been our video play. I think it really comes down to there's so much content out on the web. How do you give an audience exactly what they want? And I think at Mashable, people just dive deeper. They want to really, you come to Mashable to take an action, wherever you're consuming the content. It could be on Snapchat. And for us, that's really important. So our content is not commoditizable. So we're telling a story. There's a Mashable version of that story. So when we started talking about our velocity data is really looking at predicting what people want to consume. And then inside of that, what's the thread? What's the real why that they want to dig deeper and take an action? So we think that's really important, regardless of what platform that might extend to. And when we extend that over to a Snapchat, you're coming in for technology. What do people want to hear from that lens, from that voice? So we take that data seriously. I like the example of, I can give you great paint and a great paintbrush and a great canvas. I'm not a really good painter. So it doesn't matter how good that is, you still need a good artist. And I think our creative team kind of marries that art with the science to create the right content. For us, pre-roll is something that we offer. Obviously, we have a lot of video we just talked a little bit about, and putting a 15 or the right size creative in front of that content, I think is a game everyone's playing. I think that our content speaks a little bit more volume to just why someone wants to. They're coming there to take an action. So having that 15 seconds in front of someone that wants to take a deeper dive at a piece of content is something that advertisers obviously like. For us, that's table stakes. I think everyone's playing in that game. We are launching at the NewFront. We're launching a product that we're really excited about, which is what we're calling Reels, and that's another storytelling that will include vertical video. I think there's going to be some really good consumption there. We have two launch partners in Sprint and McDonald's that we're really excited about with that product. I think we'll see a really good advertiser gravitation to how people are going to tell those short snippets of stories. I think the secret sauce inside of video for us, in addition to sponsorships, a lot of really good shows. Scamelot's one of our biggest, and how do you put brands that want to be associated with that content distributed across, like I said, platforms where they can have some ownership of that content is a natural for us. But I really think branded content is the game changer for us. I think when you look at the advertising community, they're not really quite sure what to create for. They have a gut. They obviously have a great creative agency, and they have a lot of historical data on who their like said audience is, but they're not sure what they want to consume exactly right now. They have data that might go back 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, 6 years, et cetera. But what is it, and how do you talk to them? How do you talk to them, and what's that right thread? And I think when I got here, we quickly looked at using the velocity data that we use every day on our site to figure out how to use that and make great content for brands. And whether that's text or video content. And for your question on the video side, it's really like, I'll give you an example. We have an auto manufacturer that says, I want to target 18 to 34-year-olds that are in market to buy an automobile. Great. Nothing really differentiates you versus any other auto manufacturer. Okay, what else can you tell me about your audience? So we're only as good as the information that you're going to give us. We then put that into, we go look at velocity and see what that audience, maybe they also like Starbucks, they wear Cole Haan shoes, and they like to travel to, I don't know, the West Coast. We look at all that, like I said, data, and we're going to look at what are they consuming right now. And in this example, the brand might think it's entertainment, but we're saying it's technology. What kind of technology? Technology, it's music. Why? What about music? It's headphones, the new Bose headphones. Let's dive deeper into that thread. And inside of that thread, we're going to see that the insight is fearless thinking. And that's our team that processes it all day long. Create an idea around fearless thinking, and then publish that piece of content. Now, it doesn't have to just live on Mashable, it can live anywhere. So if I just publish that piece of content around fearless thinking, and in all due respect to my father who might drive this automobile, I don't think of him as a fearless thinker, or my friend who drives the same car in that demographic. So it's creating the right piece of content that you may not have thought was the content that you should create, taking the gut work out of it. And that's a big monetization strategy for us. We're super successful when people are spending as much time and money in creating branded content and branded video as they are. It's important for us to make sure we get it right. So that's like, I think the differentiation. Sponsorship's important, of course, across social. Vertical video is important, pre-roll is important, but I think where we kind of make a bigger difference is, if you're going to invest and spend that money, how do you do it wisely? How do you make sense of it, and then publish it properly, and then I think at the end of the day, again, put it in front of the right people. If we've done that right, we then should then prove out that it actually works, and we've moved the needle on your business. I think we're getting pretty close to being able to do that. That's where we see the biggest growth from an opportunity from like an ad monetization perspective.